Mr. Know-It-All is here. You know, your focus buddy who never smiles. I didn't know what to do with him, so I had him wait in your room.
Got it. Thanks. Well, Sylens. Looks like you finally found a door you could open without me.
I'm glad it's there, actually. It kept me from having to mingle with the company you keep. But enough prattle. I believe you owe me an explanation. Your plans for the Zenith base?
You're right. I do owe you. My spear in your throat for deceiving me again. At the Hades Proving Lab.
I doubt you asked me here for that kind of reckoning.
No. Right now, I need your help. So I'm giving you one final chance. But if you ever betray me again, I will kill you no matter what the circumstance. Understood?
Very well. Though we'll both face a decidedly short future if you can't get us inside that base.
Aloy, your other guest is here. She's, coming to you.
Thanks. Good timing. The truth is, I can't actually get us into the base. But she can.
The company you keep is even worse than I thought.
Not a fan of surprises, are you? Oh, look. That must be your little invention.
Does the weapon work? Without self-destructing?
Of course it does. I've eliminated the imperfections and greatly improved its design and output.
How can we be sure?
Care for a demonstration?
Enough, both of you. We're in this together, at least for now. Go talk to Erend. Tell him I said to give you rooms of your own. I'll come see you when I get a chance.
Oh, no. You first.
Better get everyone in the control room, so Tilda can tell us what she knows about the Zenith base.
May we speak?
Plugging in that power cell downstairs must have turned on these holograms.
You flew? Kotallo told me! And took out Regalla's machines? You know what? I don't even know why I'm surprised. I saw we have visitors and a new weapon. Does this mean we're ready to take the fight to the Zeniths?
Almost.
Oh, and I wanted to give you this, for helping me get the data on Leviathan. I didn't really know what to give you, so I asked Zoe what you might like.
Thanks, Alva. I'll put it to good use. Are you okay?
I was wondering, is it really safe having someone like Regalla here? She seems angry. The kind of angry that leads to murdering people in their sleep.
Don't worry. We're going to point that anger in the right direction. The Zeniths.
If you say so.
I hope our new guests have been behaving.
This Sylens, he's the one who built the weapon that can take down Zenith shields?
He is. Though I wouldn't expect him to answer any questions about it. He refuses to dole out his secrets to us lesser mortals.
Oh.
You know that special part of us that makes us warm, kind, welcoming?
Our spirit?
Yeah. He was born without that. How are you holding up?
Varl's loss is heavy on everyone's mind. I didn't know him well, but I can see how much he meant to the others. Zoe and Erend seem to have taken to it the hardest, but I don't quite know what to say to them.
They need time to sort through it.
And what about you? Will time heal your wounds?
I don't know. I try not to think about it. I imagine you don't know anyone here that well yet, but they're a good group.
It's funny because one of your friends is, well, another you. Not that you are the same person at all. I mean, you are, as in, you're both genetically Elizabeth Sobek, but even so, you're different.
We grew up very differently. But sometimes different is good.
Yes, of course.
I hope everyone's been treating you okay.
Oh, yeah, of course. They've all been extremely welcoming. And they share the knowledge they learn on their focuses with each other freely. It's refreshing. Back home, diviners can only share data with the permission from the overseers.
Sounds restrictive and stifling.
Yeah, you are not wrong.
Have you spoken with Zoe at all?
A little bit, but I did hear her singing with Varl not too long ago. I don't think they noticed. Zoe seemed so free when she did it. Like every emotion she had was taking flight in song. And she looked happier because of it. I felt so dull and nervous in comparison.
You should ask Zoe to teach you sometime. About Utaru music.
Maybe.
We won't let the Zeniths get away with what they've done.
Everyone's ready to take the fight to the enemy.
And you?
Nervous? But I'm ready too.
Don't worry. We'll get through this together. Anything new around here?
Kotallo showed me the schematics for his new arm. I recall reading about robotic limbs within the Legacy, but I never thought I'd see one in action. Technology like that would be treasured back home. Think of what it could do for injured workers or soldiers. But knowing the Imperial family, they would use it for different purposes. Their own.
Replacing body parts as they grow older. Like the Zeniths.
Exactly.
I see you've been using your new focus.
It's been fascinating. So much better than the version the Quen have. What would have taken me years to sort through, like the database you helped me recover, with this, I've been able to establish search parameters to speed up the process. This could revolutionize how diviners analyze the Legacy. That is, whatever part of it the Overseers would actually let us study.
You wanted data, you'll find lots of it here.
A diviner has never had this sort of unsupervised access to archives such as this. And knowing you, I suspect there is much that would normally be forbidden held within them. But I was sent here to help you. I would be remiss to ignore any truth laid before me. Maybe it'll help the Quen find their way back to the path of truth.
Any more data catch your eye?
All of it? I have so much to study up on. Years, actually. I'm particularly interested in the Odyssey. We knew the ancestors had made it to the moon. In fact, we theorized some of them had settled on it. But Sirius is way farther than that. And we thought journeying across the ocean would be the feat of a lifetime. The sheer calculations needed for space travel, it's overwhelming to think about.
Even so, the Quen are way ahead of other tribes when it comes to understanding this stuff. Where I grew up, everyone thought that stars were sparks that rose from a fire lit by the goddess to guide us through the night. So, all of the tribes here are new to you?
Yes, I've been studying up on them. The most fascinating one thus far has been the Tenakth. an entire culture based on the holograms of an ancient museum. There's much they've misinterpreted, not unlike the Quen. But still, there's a nobility to what they've become. They're honorable and fearless.
And deadly. You sure you're okay going on this mission? I know things must be happening pretty fast for you.
I've already braved oceans and madmen who thought they were ancestors reborn. Why not a few immortals with lethal drones at their command, too?
Guess the more the merrier. Have you looked through the data we recovered on Leviathan?
There is much to sort through still, but I believe we'll be able to get it operational and turn back the floods. And I've given more thought to everything we've uncovered about the ancestors. The Overseers would have us believe they were infallible paragons. But Pharaoh wasn't, not even close. His greed led to machines that devoured the world. The archive of the Old One's knowledge destroyed, just to erase his mistakes. So, when we learned that Eileen had a hand in covering up hundreds of deaths, I started to think they were all the same. Selfish, egotistical, cruel. But, in the end, it's not that simple. The truth isn't a straight line of ink on a crisp scroll. It's a splatter, smudged and faded on stained parchment. I wish more Quen could see that, instead of looking the other way, or twisting the truth to serve their own schemes.
I doubt Bohai would agree with you.
No, nor the rest of the Board of Overseers. As Eileen said, it's easier to believe the lie is truth, but it's worth fighting for. And this diviner, at least, won't settle for anything less. For that, I thank you, Aloy.
I suppose you saw that Tilda is here. Our very own Zenith.
I almost went up to her to ask her, well, every question I've ever had about the legacy. Every diviner I know would kill to get 5 minutes with one of the old ones. But now that she's here, all I feel is a vague unease. I don't know if I'm scared of finding out more uncomfortable truths, or just scared of her. Probably both.
I need to wrap up a few things, but stay sharp.
I'll be ready when you call.
Is this a bad time to...
No.
You said...
Right, he was at his spawn, and he took whom we can... I know, but anyway, in fact, so the across the ocean might... If only, perhaps, the Emperor dozens of and the one who wields the... It may seem weird.
Back at the greenhouse, you spoke of knowledge forbidden to your people.
Diviners are meant to seek out the truth in the legacy, and many Imperials sponsor them in the hopes they'll find something the Empire can put to use, thus gaining favor with the Emperor. But the Board of Overseers claims certain truths are detrimental to the stability of the Empire, like discovering one of our revered ancestors ended the world. That is why diviners are only allowed to access segments of the legacy. Only Overseers can view it all. It ensures that any heretical data can be contained and retrieved before it can spread.
What happens to diviners who break the rules?
I never had the courage to ask.
You mentioned the reason you came here was to help your family. Your sister...
Her name is Alika. Our parents are commoners. Peasants, really. When I passed the divination exams, they were so proud. It brought honor to our family and increased rations. Only Alika begged me not to leave for the research academy.
Why? What happens there?
Alika knew that once you enter, you're not allowed to leave or see anyone, not even your family. Unless you can get special permission and an escort by an overseer.
That sounds harsh.
like the focuses we keep, diviners are few in number, and the Empire is, well, fearful that outsiders will try to steal our knowledge. Last time I was allowed to see my family was just before our voyage here. Because of my position, I was able to get them refuge from the floods within the capital. But if our crops don't recover soon, they'll starve to death along with everyone else.
I promise I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't come to that. The Ancestors, is that what your people call the Old Ones?
Yes and no. The Ancestors are the greatest of the Old Ones. Those whose legacy taught us agriculture, medicine, warfare, leadership, and patronage of the science and arts.
The CEO called Elizabeth Sobek an assistant. What's that about?
Right. Well, any Old One who has made minor contributions or worked extensively under one of the Ancestors is called an assistant. That's how we thought of Sobek, until we met you. Our limited access to data past the late 2040s has obviously misinformed our view of the past.
You said the expedition across the sea was more dangerous than you thought it would be. What happened?
We lost most of our ships to hurricanes, and scores of soldiers perished to hunger and disease. And that was before we even hit the coast. Once we landed, machines ripped our patrols apart, and we struggled to replenish our rations. There were bright spots, to be sure. We found Thebes and the greenhouse. But nothing improved the CEO's mood as his dreams of saving the tribe were slowly dashed. He became more and more obsessed with Thebes and what lay behind its door. And more convinced that the title of CEO was no mere honorific. You heard him, spouting nonsense about Pharaoh's essence and some kind of becoming. We knew these weren't the words of a sane man, but he was quick to put any who spoke out in front of a firing squad.
What a great guy.
The Quen are wrong about many things when it comes to the legacy. I can see that now. But what the CEO became was a complete perversion of what Principal Diviners stand for. The pursuit of truth. I'm sorry you had to endure his madness. I'm just glad it's over. For everyone.
So, Bohai, your overseer. Will he run things better than CEO?
He won't execute people on a whim, if that's what you mean. But he's hardly a paragon of integrity. I can't tell you how many times he took credit for data in the legacy that I uncovered. The best thing I can say about him is that he can be trusted to always do what's best for him.
Yep, sounds about right. I need to take care.
Oh, hey, Aloy. We got some supplies in that chest. Help yourself.
A load of Utaru belongings. Must be Zoe's.
Did you need something?
Aloy, you came back with some interesting friends.
Wish I could say we don't need them. But Sylens and Tilda are here for a reason. Even Regalla.
Yeah. Enemy of my enemy and all that, right?
Right. Doesn't look like any of our guests are making trouble.
Yet. So, Kotallo tells me you flew. Well, that's new. I've been busting my balls trying to learn to read. You're out there having all the fun.
Don't worry. You'll be getting all the fun you can handle soon. With the Zeniths.
Looking forward to it.
I guess Silence is keeping to himself, as usual.
I was hoping he'd give me an excuse to hammer his sorry ass to the ground.
Please don't.
You telling me you wouldn't want to get just one good hit on that smug face of his? After everything he's done?
Sure. Later. Right now, he's got something we need. You look tired.
Ha! You never want to hold back, are you? I've just been making sure that I got everything down for this mission of yours. I wouldn't want to be the usual screw-up out there.
You'll do fine, Erend. You've been looking at any interesting data?
I asked Gaia to find me something to look at a while back, and she found the mother of all forges. They called it sports. Turns out the old ones spent a lot of time tackling and punching each other for points in one game or another. Are you mixing some solid food and fresh ale? I bet half the claim will be lining up to watch.
What you reading next?
I saw Gaia added something to the archives about metal rods being used to harness lightning during storms. Guy reminded me of a cousin of mine. Thought he could trap lightning if he covered himself in Stormbird plates. Went up the tallest mountain in the claim to prove it. It ended like a lot of Oseram things do. With a spark and a boom.
What else have you been studying with your focus?
Yeah, I've been looking into this Vegas place you found. Gaia showed us everything that happened when you went to get that Poseidon thing. I mean, this Merlin guy seems pretty smart. Though, risking the Tenakth clan lands for a light show is a bold move.
Maybe I should check up on them at some point. Just in case.
Right.
Do you think Zoe will be okay?
I don't think anyone's ever okay after losing the one they love. I can't tell you she's handling it better than I ever did. That keeps the rest of us level-headed.
Do I smell ale?
I brought some over from Chain Scrape. With everything that's been going on, I thought we could all use a drink. Besides, there is nothing that brings people together like a good brew. That's what my sister always said, anyways. You're more than welcome to have some.
Maybe another time. Anything happen I should know about?
Zoe asked us to help her bring more plants in here. Not for eating, apparently. Yeah, if you ask me, the place is fine as it is. You know, metal might be plain, but it's sturdy. Nothing wrong with that. Who needs a bunch of vegetation?
How are things with Kotallo? You still scared of him?
Oh, she thinks she's funny. Actually, I asked if it'd be interested in playing a game of Strike. I had to fill in most of the conversation myself, but I'm still alive.
Glad to hear it. Have you spoken with Alva yet?
Yeah, when she's not reading the archives like a giddy kid drinking her first ale. She took to that new focus quick, that's for sure. I gotta say, I'm a little jealous. But I can see why you two hit it off.
Doesn't look like any of our...
Yeah. So, I've been
Don't worry.
looking for...
Anybody take you up on that ale you brought yet?
Zoe can't stand the smell of it. I tried Alva, but I don't think she knows what taking a break means.
What about Kotallo?
Ah, now there's a man that can hold his liquor. Pretty sure we downed half a keg. We had a good chat, I think.
What's wrong with your shoulder?
Yeah, it hurts a little. Yeah, maybe a lot.
What'd you do?
Well, I tried to arm wrestle with Kotallo.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't such a great idea.
I was just curious to see if that new arm of his was as strong as it looked. Turns out it really is.
So Talana came by the base?
Yeah, more like rushed through. I was hoping she'd stay for a drink at least. Only Carja I've ever met who's any fun. But it seemed like she had more pressing matters to attend to.
You, talked to Tilda at all?
I tried. I don't think even a hot forge could melt that ice. And you say she wants to help?
I think so. Well, let's hope. I better get going.
Oh, you know where to find me.
Aloy, it appears that we have some interesting new guests. I'm glad to see you're okay, though. I heard you gave the Tenakth something to talk about. I was half expecting you to burst in through the ceiling riding a Sunwing.
Sorry to disappoint.
Oh, I also wanted to give you this. For helping with the land gods. Plainsong is in your debt.
Thank you, Zoe.
You deserve much more for all you've done. May the land always bloom in your steps.
And yours? Have you talked to any of our new friends?
Erend and I tried speaking to Sylens, but apparently our tribal prattle is unnecessary.
Charming, isn't he? How's Erend doing?
For a moment there, he thought he'd lost both you and Varl. But he never truly succumbed to despair. Guess that Oseram's stubbornness comes in handy sometimes.
Have you met our new Quen guest yet?
I could barely keep up as she gave herself a tour of the base. Varl gave her a new focus. Though when he told her she was free to access all the data we have here, she turned so pale I thought she'd faint on the spot. We showed her to the archive room so she could see for herself. She hasn't left the place since.
That sounds like Alva. You've been getting to know Erend, I assume?
Of course. Any friend of Varl's is a friend of mine. In this case, a very loud friend.
Is there anything I can help with around here?
Hmm? Oh, no. We're doing fine.
Are you okay?
You and Varl were friends for quite a while.
I like to think so.
I was wondering, what do you know about his mother?
Oh.
That bad, huh?
Why do you want to know?
He spoke of his sister, Vala, but I noticed he avoided talking about his mother.
She's the war chief of the Nora. Best warrior the tribe's ever known. Tougher than a Thunderjaw. She could be pretty harsh at times.
I see. That must have been hard on him. Thank you for telling me. I feel silly. I was never able to ask Varl directly.
I wouldn't worry about it. He was probably afraid Sona would scare you off.
I would have liked to see her try. Maybe I can meet her someday. When all this is over.
I think that can be arranged. You ever play that board game Erend set up?
Strike? I'm the one who gave it to him. I was hoping it'd distract him enough to spare us that ruckus he calls death metal. No such luck.
How are things with everyone?
Slightly quieter. Erend's been busy scouring data on his newest obsession. Apparently the old ones wrestled machines as some kind of performance. Called it metal versus meat. A must-see battle between steel and flesh, as Erend likes to put it. You'd think we have enough of that going around as it is.
Ready to head over to the Zenith base?
Whatever comes, we will endure.
You look like you have something on your mind.
We're going to war soon. And war is something I promised myself I'd left behind in the Red Raids. But the more of your data I go through, every voice I hear, every word I read from our ancient past, it makes me realize just how much life was given so that ours could flourish. Fighting for that gift, it's our responsibility. If we fail, it was all for naught.
Helps to know you're not alone.
For a moment there, you sounded like Varl.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you going to learn next?
I'm not sure. Last time I spoke with Gaia, I asked her for suggestions, and she brought up data you found on something called a museum? From what I gather, the old ones would store knowledge in them for all to see and learn from, like you've done here for us. Maybe one day more people will be able to use this place to learn the way we have.
That sounds crowded, but nice. Read anything interesting lately?
I found out the old ones used leaf infusions like the Utaru do. Tea, they call it. Apparently it helped soothe them. That and some sort of scented wax they used to cleanse their aura. Plus something called bubble baths. I think I'll stick to singing to calm the nerves.
Thoughts on our new Zenith acquaintance?
I'd say she smells like death, but even death smells of something. She's more like a cold piece of metal, bent on repelling all semblance of life.
She's definitely different. So, how does a tribe like the Utaru manage to maintain the peace with warriors like the Tenakth?
By holding them off. When our fields bloomed aplenty, the Tenakth looked upon our lands with envy. But Plainsong's dishes provided sanctuary and high ground to keep invaders at bay. In the end, even the Tenakth saw sense in a truce. The Utaru promised to provide the Tenakth with food from our crops every year. In exchange, the Tenakth would relinquish one of their own, a veteran, to train the Utaru in combat. This custom was abandoned a few years after the derangement. But some veterans still remain in the plains.
I believe I've met them already. I've been meaning to ask, what's the deal with you and the chorus? You didn't seem to be on the best of terms.
That's what happens when you're the one Utaru who insists on publicly defying them. Twice. When the Carja invaded the Utaru plains, they did more than just attack our villages. They burned our fields, took our people as slaves, and murdered those who were too weak to make the trip back to Meridian.
To be sacrificed in the Sun Ring.
I was helping the healers back then, as waves of refugees swarmed into Plainsong. The chorus was divided in how to face the invaders. Some saw sense in raising arms. Others believed the dishes would keep us safe, as they had many times before. And while they bickered, I buried the seeds of the fallen.
It couldn't have been easy. Seeing your people suffer while the Carja invaded your lands.
I come from a small village near Plainsong. My grandmother used to say there was no seed that wouldn't grow there. I moved to the dishes when I decided to apprentice as a healer. When the Red Raids began, I thought about going back. But the injured kept pouring into Plainsong, day after day. So I kept putting it off. One day, I woke up to hear a Carja raiding party had ransacked my village during the night. I rushed there with the healers to help the survivors, but there weren't any left. The smell of burning flesh haunts me to this day.
I'm sorry, Zoe.
I made it a point to appear before the chorus as soon as we returned, to demand that we take a stand against the invaders. I was denied. So I left to fight on my own.
You said you set out to fight the Carja alone?
I did. But it turned out I wasn't the only one. News of my disagreement with the chorus spread through the plains. Before I knew it, I had more than a dozen Utaru warriors ready to follow me into battle. We knew we couldn't take on the Carja armies head-on, but we also knew the lay of the land better than they did. We ambushed smaller raiding parties, sabotaged their supply lines, and hit their encampments at night.
Sounds like you were a force to be reckoned with.
Enough that the Tenakth took notice. When the clans began to push the Carja back east, they let us join their ranks. We chased the enemy all the way to Barren Light.
You said you were at Barren Light when the Tenakth defeated the Carja?
Tenakth marshals climbed the cliffs of the Daunt under cover of night, then attacked from the other side. Before we knew it, the gates were open, and the full force of the clans burst through. What happened next was not something I like to remember. When all the dust and blood settled, I smelled it again. The stench of burnt flesh. Our enemies defeated. What was left of my squad returned to the Utaru Plains. I went back to Plainsong. But even as the harvest passed, it didn't feel like I'd truly returned at all.
Is that when you became a grave singer?
I thought soothing the suffering of others would somehow appease my own. Then you came along and gave me a choice. I could either sing at people's graves or fight for a chance to keep them alive.
I'm glad you chose the latter. How'd it go with the chorus after we fixed the land gods?
They were shocked when I told them that our lands would soon be on the mend. I thought Fane's eyes would pop out of his head. But of course they had no choice but to take it as good news, even if it meant all their preaching about meekly accepting our doom was exposed as rot. To be honest, I found the conversation to be highly enjoyable.
I'm glad. You deserve it. They're lucky that you never gave up on saving them. I have to go. I trust you to keep things civil around here.
I'll make sure Aaron doesn't punch Sylens in the face, if that's what you mean.
Thanks. I see you've got your new arm ready to go.
Yes. It still feels strange. I've gotten used to the absence, but no matter. I'm sure I will need it before the attack on the Zenith base is through. Regalla may be gone, but she taught the holdouts well.
Haven't seen you since the battle at the Grove. How are you holding up?
I saw you fly on the wings of the Ten, and paralyze Regalla's army with lightning. I would say that I am inspired.
Thank you, I guess.
It is I who should be thanking you.
Look, I know you're probably not happy about keeping Regalla around, but I want her on our side when we fight the Zeniths.
It is more than she deserves. Even so, I will not question your judgment.
Thank you, Kotallo. I heard my friend Talana came by the base. Did you get a chance to meet her?
Briefly. A bold woman going into Tenakth territory with that Carja armor of hers. She'll be lucky if my people don't shoot her on sight.
She'll be careful. She's just looking for someone who might need her help.
Whoever it is, they better be worth dying for.
You've had some time with the team now. Any thoughts?
I admit I was surprised to see an Utaru here. Farmers don't make for effective soldiers.
I'm told she rallied some in her tribe against the Carja, and fought all the way to Barren Light.
Interesting. Perhaps I am mistaken.
Did you Ever get the chance to speak with Varl?
Briefly. He fought well against Regalla's troops at Barren Light. Are all Nora as skilled as the two of you?
I'm not exactly one of them. But anyway, the Nora can hold their own. They managed to push the Carja from their lands.
I thought my tribe was the only one to have done that. Impressive.
Does it still hurt?
It comes and goes. I try not to think about it, but its absence is always present for me. It's difficult to explain.
I can't claim to understand. Only empathize.
Then you have my thanks.
Have you spoken with Erend at all?
I've had little chance to. I did see him bring some ale from out east.
That stuff's as bitter as salve-brush.
You get used to it, eventually. In fact, I wouldn't mind a drink myself.
I'm sure Erend wouldn't mind sharing. What do Tenakth do to relax? You know, to take a break from training?
We play strike. Your Oseram friend, Erend, is surprisingly good at it, although he has yet to beat me. It helps one think strategically, hones the mind for tactics.
Somehow that still sounds like training. Have you spoken with Alva?
The Quen is peculiar. Nothing like a Tenakth. Her mind is sharp, that much is certain. But it's hard to imagine her surviving in the wilds.
Trust me, she's tougher than she looks.
I will take your word for it.
You nervous about the mission ahead?
If I live, it will be in victory. If I die, it will be in battle. What matters most is that you achieve your objective.
I'll do my best. Anything new going on I should know about?
The Quen has been more insistent than usual, asking about the visions at the Grove. Her pursuit of knowledge is relentless. The Ten would have a hard time fighting her off.
Just think of her like one of your chaplains.
Yes. Only more persistent.
Things will get ugly once the Zeniths realize we're in their base. You'll need every trick you've ever learned.
I would have it no other way. Many soldiers died in the old world to make sure we stood here today. We will endure on their behalf. Though, I am curious how you intend to defeat the Zenith's defenses without an army of our own.
Leave that to me. Just make sure you're ready to fight.
As you say. You have more than earned my trust.
You said you were training with the Focus?
That's right. I've been watching holograms of our fight with the Zenith Spectres. I had never faced machines so fast and agile before. How many do the Zeniths have?
I'm not sure. Probably a lot.
I would not wish to face them en masse.
I'm with you there. Must be strange, seeing everything through a Focus now.
I can see machines like never before. Their strengths and weaknesses simply reveal themselves to me. To think that such a tiny object might be the most powerful weapon I've ever possessed.
What do you think of this place? It must take some getting used to.
It's an efficient center of operations, and an acceptable training facility. Though it could use some more color.
Duly noted. Anything interesting happen while I was away?
I found an acceptable place to practice with my blade.
Oh, and where's that?
Outside, above the base. There's a nest of sunwings that are always up for a fight.
Ever thought of sparring with something that's not trying to kill you?
That would defeat the purpose of the training.
Found anything interesting during your training?
Gaia told me where to find data on how wars were waged in the old world. I knew the Ten fought against machines, much as we do now, but it seems they were among the last of their kind. Later, machines battled other machines on behalf of greedy leaders, as they vied for lands and spoils. At least the Tenakth have the courage to put their lives on the line when conflicts arise.
There is nobility in that. But maybe we just need fewer conflicts in the first place.
Yes, of course. Hekarro would have it so as well.
How are your studies going?
I wanted to learn more about the world of the Old Ones.
And?
I looked up this pharaoh Gaia said you went looking for, and learned about the plague of machines he unleashed. To think that the ancient world was wiped out by a mistake. A single miscalculation. There is no glory or honor in such a fate. Only hubris and pointless death.
That about sums it up. Think you're ready to put all your training to the test?
I am Tenakth. I am always ready.
Getting Ether out of the Grove made for quite a spectacle.
One that showed the entire tribe that Hekarro's mission for peace is the correct path, for it is now blessed by the Ten themselves.
Did you meet Tilda?
There is something about her that doesn't seem natural. I wouldn't be surprised if my sword went through her and she didn't bleed at all.
Honestly, with her, nothing would surprise me. Your people keep mentioning the wings of the Ten. What exactly does it mean?
The visions tell us that the Ten flew on great metal machines with wings and leapt into battle from the sky. For us, to imitate this feat is the ultimate expression of martial prowess. It is why the challengers leap into the arena during the Kulrut. And now, you have done it. Like the deeds of the Ten themselves, it will never be forgotten. So, tell me, how did it feel?
I won't lie. Pretty good.
I can only imagine.
You said the Bulwark was your home a long time ago. That you were part of the Sky Clan.
Yes.
That's all you're gonna tell me?
Fine. As you wish. My parents were killed in a clan skirmish, so I was raised by my squad. As I grew older, I came to be known as an accomplished fighter. Tekotteh took a special interest in me. I fought by his side against the Carja, and led my squad on a dangerous climb into the Daunt. It was I who opened the gates at Barren Light, from the east side, allowing the Tenakth to raise it.
That must have gotten you some attention.
Indeed. I was welcomed home as a hero, and I was content.
Then why'd you leave?
I became a marshal.
Why did you leave the Sky Clan to become a marshal?
I was sent to the Kulrut by Tekotteh. Back then, I would have obeyed his every order. I believed in him, like one would a father. I was too blind to see the fear in his eyes. Fear of a rising young warrior challenging his command of the clan. I returned a hero from the battle at Barren Light. But to him, I was only a threat. Never occurred to him that I had no interest in rising above my station.
Why did Tekotteh think you wouldn't be a threat to him if he sent you to the Kulrut?
Tekotteh knew that if I survived the Kulrut, I'd be forced to forsake the clan to serve the Tenakth as a whole. I'd never be allowed to challenge his command, even if I wanted to. After our victory at Barren Light, Tekotteh spoke to our people, said it would be selfish to rob Hekarro and the marshals of a warrior like myself, even though he knew perfectly well I had no intention of ever leaving. It was exile, guised as an honor. One he knew I couldn't refuse. So I became a marshal, and never looked back.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I am not. Though it pained me at the time, a marshal is what I was destined to be.
What did Chief Akaro say when you told him he'd be joining me here?
You spilt rebel blood at the Grove and helped reunite the clans. There was little more to be said. He understood.
Well, I'm honored he lent me his best marshal. At least for a little while.
Indeed.
I bet people are curious about that new arm of yours.
None more than our Quen ally, I assure you. She couldn't wait to take it apart and figure out how it works. I gave her the data I used to build the thing, hoping that would satisfy her curiosity instead.
Good luck with that. I have to go.
Understood.
This place smells wrong. No sand or wind, only cold steel. And the others up there, your squad.
They can hold their own. And as for this base, it may not be what you're used to, but it is a shelter.
Call it what it is. A cage.
You came here on your own.
For the battle you promised. So for now I wait in my cage for your word. Tell me when to strike.
The deal you made. Override tech in exchange for an assault on the Zenith base. How did Sylens approach you?
That name means nothing to me. My agreement was with Oseram mercenaries.
So all this time, you didn't even know who you were really dealing with? And you trusted a group of Outlanders?
If it was a trick, I would have crushed them. But they offered me the chance to run the Carja down with machines. The terror in your enemy's eyes when they see you charge. You know what I'm talking about. I bet you felt it.
I don't think so. What about your end of the deal? Would you have honored it?
Had I killed Akaro and become chief, these Zeniths would have been the first of the tribe's victories. But because of you, my people will continue to consort with the enemy. A tribe of weaklings.
Because of me, hundreds of Tenakth won't throw away their lives in a battle they can't win. All right. I guess we'll both face the end soon enough.
Ever since you got in my way, I've wanted to see your bones burned white beneath the sun. But if I'm to die in battle, then it might as well be with the one who flew with the wings of the Ten.
I'll let you know when it's time to move out.
We've never played Machine Strike together.
Oh no. I got enough trouble with Kotallo. Only kicking my ass.
You said I never did that.
The way my luck's going, I'll bet you're a pro.
There's Gwen stuff in here now. Must be all of us.
There you are. Well done, Aloy. Despite my reservations, you managed to secure Sylens and his weapon. You're truly a shining example of Liz's fortitude.
I've been thinking about what you said at your house. How you were friends with Elizabeth. It was more than that, wasn't it?
Perceptive as ever. You're right, we were together for a time.
Okay, so... what happened?
I was an orphan. I had always been alone. By my 30s, I was starting to wonder if that was simply my fate in life. And then I met Liz. We kept running into each other at conferences. We'd have coffee. At some point, it became drinks. I thought it was just shop talk, an exchange of ideas, but then I was surprised at how much I looked forward to seeing her. Soon we were flying halfway across the world every other week just to meet up. For the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I could imagine a future where I wasn't. I think Liz felt the same way at first. She had lost her mother a few years back. I filled a void for her. I know I did. But as time passed, it seemed as though she wanted less when I wanted more. And so we ended things.
So helping me, restoring Elizabeth's dream, it's what,
A second chance, yes. I made a mistake leaving Earth while Liz stayed behind. I should have done more. So when I saw you, a woman who has carved her own remarkable path, beyond even what made Liz a phenomenon, I knew I had to help you. To do right by her.
When it's time to break into the Zenith base, what can we expect?
I'll go over the full layout once you've assembled your friends. Suffice it to say, we will need to push as fast as possible to Beta and Gaia's location, dealing with heavy resistance along the way. There are also printing facilities where the others have been amassing the natural resources they've stripped from the region.
What for?
First for use in the base's infrastructure, and then to fabricate more Spectre drones, a small army of them. In addition, they've also been ferrying materials to and from our ship in orbit. After hundreds of years luxuriating in our digital comforts, the ship was barely space-worthy when we made our escape. Disaster can strike at any moment. We've learned our lesson.
Why do you think Elizabeth pulled away?
I've wondered that for 1,000 years. She was brilliant, visionary. She cared so deeply for the world, for the betterment of humanity. But it also felt like she kept everyone at arm's length, including me. She never wanted to share her burdens. I think, in the end, she had a core that she never let anyone be part of. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really knew her.
I found a recording of you and Elizabeth back in the Proving Lab after Far Zenith's attempt to steal Gaia.
Yes. A most unpleasant conversation.
She said something after the call. I think she regretted how things ended between you.
Did she? All this time, thank you for telling me. I've always hated that those were the last words we ever said to each other. And that her last impression of me was as a functionary of Far Zenith, not who I truly am.
Have you figured out how Sylens' weapon works?
No, and he's been very careful not to allow me near it. I'll admit it bothers me, but Regardless of how it functions, I am confident it will deactivate the other shields en masse.
How many of them are in the base?
10, including Eric and Gerard. Only a handful of us made it to our ship when our colony collapsed.
So, Eric... was he always a bloodthirsty psychopath?
I believe he got worse over time. On Earth, he was the founder of a profitable private military company. A band of cutthroats, in other words. Even as governments abandoned human combatants in favor of automated warfare. He found success with clientele that required a more personal touch. There were also rumors that he personally hunted and killed his targets. On occasion, all for the thrill of it. But on Sirius, he retreated to virtual reality simulations. In them, he could go on rampages as violent as he pleased, though I suspect with diminishing satisfaction.
What can you tell me about Gerard?
He was the head of the world's largest financial conglomerate, and as such had dealings with almost every major corporation. It made him one of the wealthiest people on Earth, and certainly the wealthiest among Far Zenith.
What does one person do with that much money?
Buy more power, more influence. Gerard's always believed himself to be a refined patrician, able to maintain control with a polished smile. But beneath that exterior is a cold and calculating operator. It was his decision to restrict Beta's upbringing to her digital educators, the avatars of the Apollo database, while we were painted as her benefactors.
Well, we'll deal with him soon enough. And the others.
I would very much like to see his face when he realizes we've beaten him.
When Beta escaped and hid in an ancient research facility, I saw another one of the Zeniths, Verbena. Who was she?
A dull star amidst a sea of brighter constellations. Unlike most of Far Zenith's members who amassed their wealth through shrewd business deals and technological achievements, Verbena inherited her billions. Her father had achieved great success in the luxury holotourism industry. At age 24, she became the world's most eligible bachelorette, branding herself a life designer. Someone who leverages their fame to influence the choice of others.
What, like a cult?
In a way, yes.
Well, she must have done something right to have survived this long.
She was her own brand of ruthless. That much is true. But even rats can cling to a vessel for escape.
When I was in the ruins of Vegas, I found data on a man named Stanley Chen. I think he was a Zenith.
Stanley, ever the optimist. He was one of the good ones. When we established our colony, he built an exact replica of Las Vegas in virtual reality. Lights, shows, gambling, every detail perfectly recreated. And while others cloistered themselves in their own fantasies, he flung his doors wide to everyone.
The way you're talking about him, I'm guessing he didn't make it back to Earth?
No, he perished when our colony was destroyed. He would have been thrilled to discover that part of his beloved city survived.
Okay, so I've had run-ins with a handful of Zeniths. What about the rest?
An array of the wealthiest people on Earth. Titans of their industries.
And let me guess. All selfish and ruthless to the core?
Most, but not all. There were a few with whom I got along. Annika Murjani, for instance, was always delightful. She founded the Holonet's most successful dance channel and was herself mesmerizing to watch. And I had fascinating discussions with Song Jiao about her work in cellular biology. Our immortality treatments are due in part to her achievements. But then there were others like Devin Miller, the CEO of a fast food printing corporation. His only real preoccupations were perfecting his golf swing and taking self-hollows. When I think about all of us, we really should have accomplished more. We had eternity.
Okay. I'll let you know when it's time.
I'll be here until then. And thank you, Aloy, for giving me this chance. My past has always been a struggle. More than once I've lost everything. But when I look to the future, I see Liz's dream fulfilled. A universe of new possibilities.
Maybe we can make it happen.
We will. I won't let anything get in the way. I promise you that.
I'm all for it.
If the Banuk can survive freezing, so can I.
Sit with me, Outlander. I've got something to tell you.
You shouldn't miss the...